Can you still make money in real estate? Yes, you can still make money in real estate today. As a matter of fact, today there are ways to make money in real estate that have never been available in the past. I'm going to tell you about 3 of them, and one of them I'll bet you've never heard of, and it's probably the best opportunity of all, so make sure you stay until the end. Let's talk about the first one, wholesaling. Wholesaling is absolutely a wonderful way to get started in real estate when you don't have a lot of cash to put up, maybe you don't want to put up your own credit, or maybe you don't have the ability to put up credit. Wholesaling is the thing to do. So the first question, what on earth is wholesaling? Wholesaling is when you get a property under contract and then you give the contract to someone else and they're going to close on the property, they're going to buy it, and they're going to move forward and do whatever they're going to do, fix and flip it, use it as a rental, live in it, whatever they might do. So you might wonder, that sounds a little bit odd. How does that actually work? Well, there's value if you put a property under contract for far below market value. There's a lot of value to that because that's hard to do. The secret about real estate investing that people don't tell you is that finding suitable deals is really difficult and takes a lot of time, money, and effort. So as a wholesaler, what you do is you ferret out those amazing deals, you put it under contract so that you have the right to buy it, and then you assign that right to buy the property to someone else. And they pay you a fee to do that. Now you might question, well, why would they pay me to do that? They could just do it themselves. Well, you have the property under contract. I can tell you as an attorney, once you have it under contract, you've locked the entire rest of the world out. So the whole key to wholesaling is to find the really great deals. Now the great deals for a property you're going to fix and flip, you really need to buy it for 70% of its after repaired value minus the fix-up costs. So as a fix and flipper, that's your target price. So as a wholesaler, let's say for example that you're talking about average house in America, a $400,000 house. So let's say that to a fix and flip guy, that house is worth $280,000, and if they can get under contract and buy it for $280,000, they are absolutely thrilled. And why is that? Because they're going to turn around and flip it for $400,000. So it's absolutely amazing. Now as a wholesaler, what you do is you try to get a little bit better deal than that. Let's say, for example, that you could get it under contract for 60 cents on the dollar, so 60% of retail. So you get the $400,000 property under contract for $240,000. And then you go out to your wholesale buyers and you say to them, well, I'll sell it to you for $280,000. So that hits your 70% mark. So I need $40,000 as a fee for assigning this contract to you. What I can tell you is to a person, you would have fix and flip guys falling all over themselves to get that deal from you. They're going to turn over $40,000 at the moment you assign that contract over to them. Now, what don't you have to do? You don't have to line up financing. You don't have to put out a down payment. You don't have to close on the property. You don't have to hire a contractor to fix it. You don't have to take any risk, which is why I love wholesaling as a way to start in real estate. Now let's take a look at the other side. So if the benefits are that you don't have to put up money, you don't have to borrow money, it's really quick. So what are the downsides? The downsides are it's a lot of work to find properties that are that amazing of a deal. That's it. It takes a lot of talking to a lot of sellers, looking through pre-foreclosure lists and contacting sellers, seeing if they want to sell. It takes often direct mail programs where you're sending out mailers, looking for people that are what they call motivated sellers. What's they motivated means they want to sell and their price is not their primary concern, just getting rid of the property is their concern. That can often be estates where the family's inherited a property that's maybe in poor condition. They don't want it, they're all out of town, and if they can just get rid of it, they're happy. And the realtors have told them, based on the condition of this, it's not really something we can market effectively for you. Those are your targets. So wholesalers, in order for you to be a great wholesaler, you want to be great at marketing to find amazing deals. And the whole key to wholesaling is you become that expert at finding the great deals, and then you build up a group of motivated house flippers and real estate investors that are looking for great deals. I've done videos on that. You can search in my videos. You can find more about wholesaling and how it works. But I will just tell you your expertise needs to be in getting the great deals under contract. The benefit is that in this business, you do not need to put up money. You do not need to have or use any credit. It's very quick. It's probably the quickest way to make money in real estate. But on the other side, you've really got to be a great marketer. So if you want to learn more about wholesaling, what I would suggest is do some internet searches. look around for people that are teaching how to do wholesaling and do some research. Ask other people who have the course. Look on forums, do searches to see if that person has a good reputation. There are some great wholesaling instructors out there, but make sure you just do your research. And also, I would probably invest in a couple of those kinds of courses. I wouldn't limit myself to just one. I'd invest in a couple of them, really start to learn the field, and then go out and start buying. I think wholesaling, great way to start, and great today because there's a housing shortage, meaning there's not enough houses out there, so a lot of people looking for houses, a lot of real estate investors looking for houses, and this is a great way to get started. So let's talk about number 2. Probably something you've heard about, but I have some twists on it that maybe you haven't heard about, and that is the short-term rental business. These are things like Airbnb, VRBO, which is vacation rental by owner. Those are platforms that specialize in finding renters who want to rent for short term. This is very common in vacation areas. Like the place where I live is a gated resort community that's absolutely beautiful and spectacular that many people like to come down to for vacation. And people will pay, in my community, $20,000 to $30,000 per week to rent a house. There's a woman in my community that manages 30 rental houses there for other people. She didn't buy all these 30 houses. She just manages them. She puts them up on short-term rental sites, and she takes a fee of 30% of the rents. So you imagine it, if she rents 5 houses in a week, and she gets 30% of $30,000 in rent, that's about $9,000 per week per house. So she can make upwards of $40,000 to $50,000 a week without ever having to buy a house. You might say, well, why would anybody do that? Like, how does that even work? Well, when you are a landlord with short-term rentals, it's effort. You have to get tenants checked in. You have to respond very quickly to problems. If the tub is backing up, or the electricity goes out, or there's some kinds of problem where they lock themselves out in the middle of the night, you've got to be on top of it. Maybe someone needs help getting checked in. Maybe the key isn't working, whatever, all those little landlord things. You got to be on it like that because you're basically running a hotel. So people will hire a short-term rental manager to manage that property. What are they going to do? They're going to take wonderful pictures. They're going to stage the property. They're going to put up a great ad. They're going to respond to inquiries. They're going to decide whether to rent someone or not. What I like about this strategy, which is being a manager of short-term rentals rather than an owner of properties that you rent out, is that if they change the rules of the game, which they often do with short-term rentals, meaning the government says, you know what, we think you're competing too much with hotels. We're not going to let people do short-term rentals like they did in New York City. What they typically do in places like that is they'll say, you can rent, but it has to be for more than 30 days at a time. And that really takes the juice out of short-term rentals where, like, for example, in my community, someone's renting by the week. They're not going to rent by the month. No one can afford to pay $150,000 to $200,000 to rent for a month, which during high season is about what you'd pay. That's not what people are looking for. They're looking for places where you're going to rent for a week, maybe a long weekend, maybe over the Christmas, New Year's week. They're looking for that. And that's where the big money is because it's kind of like selling bottles of water. If you go to the convenience store like your 7-Eleven, maybe a bottle of water is $2 to $3. If you go to the supermarket and buy a case of 36 bottles of water, it's probably $6. And on a per bottle basis, it's immeasurably less to buy in bulk than it is to buy a single bottle. So the question is, how does that relate to real estate? Well, when you're renting a beautiful place in a short time period, people will pay a lot more per day. And the upcharge can easily be 20 to 30% more than full-time rent. It can be more than that in some places, and depending on the time of year. But the point is, there's this huge benefit to renting out short-term. It's more work. So, for example, my friend that's in this business, she has a team. She has a maintenance guy who's on call 24/7 that can run out to address a problem with the property. She has assistants that go and make sure the property is cleaned and ready for the next renter. She has full-time cleaning people that come in and get the places ready in between guests, because sometimes one guest is checking out at 10 or 11 a.m. and the next guests are arriving at 4 p.m. You got to get a whole 5,000 square foot house cleaned up like that. So that takes a lot of work and it takes a team. So there's a lot of value in that. And I don't like being the owner of short-term rentals. The reason I say that is that it's a huge capital investment. If you're buying houses, and aside from my community where houses are very, very expensive, let's say you're just buying average house in America, a $400,000 house. Well, to get 10 of them, you need $4 million. That's a lot of money to have out there. That's a lot of debt service if you borrow money, and that to me represents risk. Because if, for example, they change the rules and say, you know what, now you can't do short-term rentals, you've got to then do something else with your houses. And if your whole business model is set up on high rentals for short term, it may not work anymore, and you may not have the money to service your debt, and you're in big trouble. As an attorney, I just like to keep your risk down. So my recommendation is be a manager of other people's properties. Now, there are two flavors to this. One flavor is that you just flat out are a manager of other people's properties. You contract with them and say, I'm going to do short-term rentals. My fee is 30%. I expect I can get you a lot more money on a per month basis. You're going to keep 70% of those rents, and I think it'll be a lot higher. And you just contract that way. That's one way. A second way to do it, and probably one that you'll do after you get more of a feel for the market and you understand it better, is you can do a master lease. What that means is you lease the property with the right to sublet it as a short-term rental, meaning you can actually, legally and in agreement with the owner, offer it as a short-term rental and keep whatever profits you make. Now, your obligation in a deal like that is you do have to pay the monthly rent. So you're going to be paying them, if you rent it 12 months at a time, you're going to be paying that person every month. And if they pull the rug out from under you and they stop offering or prohibit short-term rentals, you could have a problem. So that represents more risk, but less risk than owning all the properties. So I do like that. I think short-term rentals, the areas you should look at, any place that is a vacation area that's popular is fantastic, like the area that I live in. Areas in major cities are often very good too. I know with my family, when I go and visit major cities, like for example, I was in Denver 2 months ago with the whole family, it was much, much easier, and we enjoyed it much more to have a house to be in. I've got a small child and I've got a young boy. With us having the whole family with a kitchen and a refrigerator and a little yard for the kids to play in, way nicer experience than staying at a hotel. I love hotels, stay in them all the time, but for a family, for a 2-week vacation, not as great. I also liked having the washer and dryer in the house. It was really, really wonderful. So when you are at a city, often people that come in with their families would much prefer to rent a house, as I would, and many people like that. So cities are really good places, vacation places, beach places, any place that has a lot of people coming in with their families for vacation, really good. Also, you can do well with more intermediate term rentals if you're around places like children's hospitals where kids may come in for long-term treatment. Very sad, yes. But kids come in for long-term treatment, it is much more comfortable for the family to be in a house. Often they have other children in the family, way more comfortable for them to be in a house with a playground down the street, someplace where the kids can bring their bicycles, there's a garage to put in, just way more comfortable for a family. And often people are staying there for 1, 2, 3, 4 months at a time. And you won't get as much as you will when you're renting by the week, but you'll get a big bump in rent, much, much more. So I really like that. The only plan I do not like, I just don't like buying houses where the only way that they work is if it's short-term rental, because it's way too much risk, because governments can and do shut down short-term rentals, and you do not want to be caught with a big monthly debt obligation and payment, and you can't get the rents that you need. That is a recipe for stress and distress, and it's how you lose your hair. I didn't lose my hair that way. I lost it because of my genetics, but that is the way you lose your hair, and I don't like that and don't want you doing that. Now, to learn about short-term rentals, what you want to do, again, look online, look for some courses, and my suggestion is get a couple of them, study them, really start to understand the market. Definitely look for ones where they're looking and teaching you about the management side, about the master lease side, and you can even look at ones that talk about purchasing, but I don't think that's the best methodology. I think that's high risk, and I wouldn't do it. I don't mix in my investments with my business that generates cash. If you want investments, do investments. You want business to generate cash, do business to generate cash. And on that, I want to show you a third thing that very, very few people know about and that I'm doing in my life, and that is absolutely amazing and fantastic. And that thing is called overages. And you say, what on earth is overages? Never even heard of it. What is that word even? Overages are monies that are left over when a property gets foreclosed, either because someone didn't pay their real estate taxes or because someone didn't pay their mortgage. When the property is foreclosed and sold, the creditor gets paid off in full. So for example, the mortgage company gets paid off in full, or if it's real estate taxes, the real estate taxing authority gets paid off in full. But often the properties sell for much more than that amount of money that's owed. And the extra money that's left over, well, that money is available for the former homeowner to claim. And the issue is that generally former owners have no idea that there could be any money to claim, that there is any money to claim, or what the process to even do it would be. They just don't even know that any money exists, much less how to go about it. So they're typically, sort of leaving in shame and sadness and upset, going to try to find their next place in life, trying to rent a place. Usually their credit is very bad because, let's face it, if you're not paying your mortgage or your real estate taxes, you're probably having trouble paying all of your bills. So they really are in a world of stress and worry. So what you do in this business is you get the list of money that's being held. There's a very easy public records list to get. You get the list of people that are owed the money. You look up their contact information. Again, very simple in these days of the internet, super simple, some internet searches. And then you reach out to the people. You send them a letter, send them a postcard, make a phone call, find them on social media, lots of ways to do that. You reach out to them and say, hey, I've got great news for you. So glad I got a hold of you. There's some money that you're eligible to claim, and my company specializes in helping people in just your situation get back, a significant amount of money. And you'll know the amount that they're owed. So you may say, in your case, it looks like working with us, there's about $30,000 that's available. Now, it's probably that the claim is a $50,000 claim, but what I always do is I quote them what I'm going to get them if they work with me. And on a $50,000 claim, we're typically going to charge a $20,000 fee. So what I'll say to them is, I think working with me, you'll get $30,000 at the end of the day. That's including the cost of our services. And it's no risk to you. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't cost you a penny. But if it does work out, which I expect that it will, then you're going to have a nice windfall. And would $30,000 be helpful to you? And I can tell you, to a person, when you can get $30,000 and you've just lost your house at a foreclosure sale, it's amazing, it's uplifting, it's like wind beneath their wings. They're going to go back and get back into life again. They so desperately need this money. And of course, we're not putting them at any risk. We don't need a deposit or anything. What you're going to be doing in this business is just going through the process of putting in a claim, getting the money, and then splitting it up between the two of you. Now, of course, there are technicalities to that. I'm an attorney. I've been in this business since 2014, so I've been in there for a long time. I know all the ins and outs. I'm happy to teach those to you. The thing about this business that I love, it's a cash business. It's one where you do the work, you get paid the money. You don't have to invest any money. We're not buying the claims. We're not borrowing any money. We're not putting our credit at risk. And I can tell you, as an attorney, I see the aftermath of people that put a lot of money or credit up for risk and then things don't work out. And I can tell you that my philosophy on small business is find something you can do where you keep the front end risk to a minimum. It means you're not emptying out your 401k to buy into a business. You're not spending, $250,000 or more for a franchise and then hoping that it works out. I mean, often franchises work out, they can be great, but what if it doesn't? Can you take that loss? So I like businesses where you can get them started and where you don't need to worry about it not working out in the sense that it'll put you in financial ruin. Will you have wasted some time and effort? Sure. But that's a lot better than losing that time, effort, and a couple $100,000. That's for darn sure. So Overage's business is very cool. I think it's good for someone who wants a business that you can start with minimal capital outlay, with minimal risk, with minimal credit, and it can be started on the side so you can see, is it for you? Does it work for you? It's pretty quick to learn. Doesn't take a long time to learn to do. You start making some calls, getting some people signed up, and you can see if it's for you. So I love that business. If you want to know more about it, I've recorded a pretty good description. It's 7 minutes, a very short video, a very good description of the Overage's business. And at the end of that, if you are interested, I have a longer presentation where I really dig into the details, spend an hour and a half really digging into it to help you decide if it's for you. And if it's for you, I do education and teach that business. I'd be happy to have you join me in the business. I have the biggest Overage's business in the country, I'm sure of that. We do dozens and dozens of these deals. We help dozens and dozens of homeowners. But the thing is, there are 3,000 tax sales a day in the United States. And although we have a big business helping dozens of homeowners, we don't even scratch the surface. So I'm glad to show you the business. You can get into the business and sort of join me in what really is, to me, not only a business, it's a cause. And if you want to join me in my cause with helping people get back literally hundreds of millions of dollars that's sitting there unclaimed and they desperately need, then I invite you to go click on the link down below, or if you see a link on your screen, you can grab it. Sometimes you see it over my shoulder, depending on your internet browser. Click on that link. You'll see the intro to the Overage's business video. 7 minutes. You can learn all about this business. So click on that and I'll see you there. Anyway, I hope that this is helpful to you. If it was helpful, please like it so that more people can get ideas on what they can do in real estate and how they can make great money. And also you get fed more videos that are pertinent to this topic, because I do have more things to say about it and we'll be recording more videos. And no matter what you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck. I encourage you to choose something that is low in risk, low in capital outlay, and that just appeals to you at a core level. And then go and give it a try. Be brave. All things won't work out, but you don't know until you try. And I can tell you, every great journey is literally started with a small step. Your small step right now is click on the video, go see my intro to overages, and I'll see you over there.